Hey class, today we are going to continue our discussion on stratification, particularly social stratification. And we're going to look at some things that can affect someone developmentally throughout their period of acculturation. It can affect their socioeconomic status. So, a couple of things that a review that your book points to, one would be cultural capital, and then the other would be social capital. And these would be things that we can use as individuals to get higher levels of socioeconomic status. Cultural capital would be knowledge, skills, and other cultural resources. And these skills or this knowledge or these resources would tend to help one elevate themselves in the socioeconomic ladder, particularly as far as navigating socially, networking even. And then that plays into the second concept. So cultural capital can also play into social capital, which I'll talk about in a minute. And social capital, your book refers to those as relationships that are potentially economically valuable, resulting from membership in a group. So, for example, let's say you're a golfer. All right. Golfing takes money. Okay. Generally, if you play golf once a week, or let's say you belong to the local country club and you play golf at the country club, that takes money, especially if you have an annual membership at the country club and they don't allow non members to play. That's going to take a few $1,000s a year. You have to purchase your clubs, you have to purchase golf balls. You probably have had some training. If not, it's going to be a long road trying to develop golf skill on your own with no training, which is going to take a lot of money. Um, and then you have to pay your fees when you go to actually play. There's a golf course down, it's like 10, 15 minutes down the road from me. And I think to play 18 holes, it's somewhere around $120. So golfing can be expensive. And it takes a lot of money to acquire skill in golf. So generally, people that play golf are socioeconomically higher in the ladder than those who might play other recreational sports or engage in other leisure activities. Um, so people with money meet other people with money, right? People that are higher on the socioeconomic ladder would meet other people that are higher on the socioeconomic ladder on the golf course or at the club, right? So, if you're at the country club, maybe after you play golf, you get a glass of iced tea, you get a snack or whatever, and you meet other people that play golf. You can network. And being a member of that group, that golfing community, maybe you'll meet people that you can network with that might have a positive socioeconomic impact on you. So maybe you're looking for employment in a certain field. Uh, you might meet someone there that knows someone who can get you a job, right? But also, there's that cultural capital, right? So if you're looking at a physical skill or knowledge, right, you have to develop your skill of golf in order, and you need to know etiquette. That's really important too, right? So that would be a cultural aspect of knowing golf etiquette, letting other people play through things like that. That will help develop those relationships and make you able to climb the socioeconomic ladder. So that's what your book is talking about with these ideas, right? Where we have cultural capital and we have social capital, and oftentimes those things have an impact on our advancement in life, right? So if our cultural capital is very low, right, like let's say we just refuse to learn golf etiquette, we refuse to learn the game of golf, but we want to go play golf with people and develop friendships, that might not work out super well. If we're the golfer that's perceived as rude and unknowledgeable, people aren't going to want to golf with us because then that would make the whole golfing group look bad, right? So the more cultural capital we have, oftentimes the more social capital we can have. So it's very interesting how those two play off of one another. Anyway, some other things that are like that. Any group that people can be a member of can be considered social capital, particularly if that can lead to further economic gain. So it doesn't have to be being a member of the country club. It doesn't have to be golfing. It can really be anything, right? It can be polo, tennis, running, right? If you're part of a local running club, you can network with people there. It can even be professional groups. So if you go to conventions, right, and you network with people there, and you're part of a professionals group, that can help increase one's social capital. So some other things that have an impact on a person's socioeconomic development would be family. Family has a major impact on socioeconomic development. And your book points to two approaches that families have toward raising children and toward helping them develop cultural capital and social capital. And one is called concerned cultivation. And your book points to the fact that generally these would be middle class families or higher than middle class families that engage typically in this kind of parenting. Now, this is not a universal. As you know, in the social sciences, generalizations are general. So that means there are always going to be exceptions to this pattern. But generally, people that are middle class families or higher are more likely to engage in the concerned cultivation style of parenting. And this would be treating children like little adults, where the parent would assess the child's interests, their skills, and their behaviors, and then try to provide opportunities for growth for that child. So, like if the child is interested in golf, right? Then they would get the kid golfing lessons. They would try to get the kid involved in maybe some competitions or try to network with other parents whose children are into golf and develop those skills. And then also, as far as behaviors, behavioral strengths and weaknesses, like trying to fill in those gaps there so that that child has as much cultural and social capital as possible. So trying to help actively develop the child from a parental perspective. So I would look at this almost like kind of like a life coach kind of approach, where you're looking at the child, and as a parent, you're trying to see how can we best help this child develop to maximize this child's potential for this child's benefit. And that would be the concerned cultivation style of parenting. And then there's the accomplishment of natural growth style, where the family, and by the way, this would be more of like a working class or lower than working class approach to parenting. Generally, again, there are exceptions. There are always going to be outliers and exceptions, but generally this would be in the working class or lower than working class families. And this would be the family provides for the kids' needs and then lets the kids play informally. And they treat the kids different from adults, right? So kids aren't consulted as much as far as what their wants are and what their needs are. There's not so much reciprocity, give and take. It's more, I'm the parent, you're the child. I'm telling you to do this, you do it. And also, it's not as structured, right? So in the accomplishment of natural growth model, the parents aren't going to go out and actively pursue, well, okay, my child is interested in golf, so therefore I'm going to seek out a golf coach. I'm going to get my kid in golf lessons. I'm going to, get a membership at the local country club. We're going to network and try to get tea times with other families that have similar age children. It's going to be, you know what? Get some golf balls, get some golf clubs, let the kid hit the golf balls in the yard. So it's more informal, less organized play. And these are two main models as far as developing skills, cultural and social skills. And so if you look at them independently, I would just like you to, in your mind for a minute, just evaluate which you think would be more effective at developing cultural capital and also social capital. And then also recognize that there are pros and cons to both, right? There are benefits to both models, and then there are weaknesses to both models too. So with anything in life, life is trade-offs. And so kids in the accomplishment of natural growth model might not be as busy, they might not be as stressed, they may have more time to just enjoy downtime or leisure, and they may be able to be more creative and explore more like self-driven learning. Whereas kids in the other model may not have that, right? So if you have the concerned cultivation model, kids have much more of a regimented schedule, and there's not as much time for independent play, and there's not as much time for creative exploring. So that would just be examples of differences there. Okay, moving on. So school would be another place where cultural capital and social capital are established. And we've mentioned before, cost of education can limit access to higher education. So people that are already in lower socioeconomic brackets may have a harder time getting access to higher education. And oftentimes people in lower income areas tend to not have as successful schools. There's a higher dropout rate, for example, generally in lower income areas. So there are challenges here. And I just wanted to point out, I mentioned this, but I want to give you some hard data here. As far as degrees go, so someone with a professional degree, so we're thinking like MBA, for example. I said MBA, not NBA, just so we're clear. Someone with an MBA, they would make on average, this is average, $1,730 a week. So if you're looking at that, that's a pretty decent pay rate, right? But someone with just a high school diploma on average is going to make $678 a week. That's a pretty significant pay gap. And then someone with no high school diploma on average is going to make $493 a week. All right, so if you look at someone with no diploma, no high school diploma, so their education is limited, versus someone that has an MBA, the person with the MBA is making not quite, but almost $1,200 more a week. That's a very significant wage gap. So if you're looking at that, I mean, if you just do the math, right, $1,200 a week, so it'd be $2,400 every 2 weeks, right? So that'd be $4,800 a month more. That's more, right? So that's a very significant pay gap between not having a high school diploma and having a professional degree. So someone's socioeconomic status is very much influenced by education. Again, these are general. All right, also, something else that can have an impact, so we looked at, someone's cultural capital or social capital, and then family and school. And then public policy can also have an impact on someone's socioeconomic status. And there are two approaches to this, right? So one approach, and we would link this more as far as economic theory with socialism or communism, would be equal outcome. So in an equal outcome model, that would be redistribution of wealth where regardless of opportunity, regardless of social capital, regardless of cultural capital, regardless of anything, in equal outcome, the idea would be level playing field. And this never happens. It can be a goal, but it just never happens. Even like communist regimes, generally those that are higher up in the party get more access to resources, right? So Joseph Stalin had more access to resources than the average citizen or subject in Soviet Russia. But the goal would be level the playing field so that everybody has equal economic outcome. But that offers a lot of challenges, and there are a lot of difficulties when trying to do this, because if we're looking just at finances, that could be one thing, but there are so many categories where we could look at equal outcome. It'd be very difficult to have equal outcome across all domains. And then there's equal opportunity, where everyone would have the same opportunity, but not necessarily equal. So like anyone in America can theoretically go to college, right? That doesn't mean that in actuality they can. Not the same outcome, right? This wouldn't be equal outcome, but equal opportunity. Anyone that wants to go to college can go to college in America, but they may not be able to pay for it. right? So they have the opportunity, but not necessarily the access, if that makes sense, right? Anybody in America that wants to get a job can get a job, right? That doesn't mean they will, but they have the opportunity to be employed. There's no law barring them from being employed. There may be some extreme outliers there, like someone who's institutionalized is not going to have employment opportunity necessarily. But I'm saying the average person has opportunity to go to college. The average person has opportunity, like they could start a business if they wanted to. There's nothing stopping them in America, whereas in some other places, there may be regulations keeping people from having equal opportunity. But these would be two public policy models. But the equal opportunity model may allow for more inequality. But the equal outcome may actually be undoable and may cause a lot of problems. So there's really not a solid solution to this idea of socioeconomic inequality, which is what your book is getting at, the fact that there's inequality. But public policy can shape someone's socioeconomic status, right? So if public policy pushes for equal outcome, then there may be a more level playing field. But the question is then, where is that playing field located, as far as socioeconomic status is concerned? Because I think a lot of times people think, okay, equal outcome, equal playing field, then we just average all the money in the nation, and then that's where everybody's going to be at, is at the average, the mean. Not the median, the mean, right? But it's not necessarily going to be like that. But anyway, what I just want you to get for today is that there are some factors that may impact a person's socioeconomic status throughout their development in life. And family surely has an impact on that, and that's demonstrable in the social sciences. School can have an impact on that, and level of education and quality of education can have an impact on that. Also, one's cultural and social capital has an impact on that, and then public policy can also impact those things. So that's it for today. Good work. Keep up the solid work, guys. Getting back into it after Easter break. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and then we'll get into our live stream lessons coming up. All right, have a great day.